So starting off with the Stefon Diggs trade to the Texans, Drew, I feel like we talked about not to the Texans specifically, but we talked about Stefon Diggs being traded. I mean, a couple of times throughout, our 4 or 5 months of doing the podcast of he doesn't seem happy. He's not performing. You specifically talking about, I, I think it means something when someone else's relative or sibling tweets out about him going somewhere else. And now it's happened. The Stefon Diggs going to the Texans. The Bills will receive a 2025 second round pick, which is Minnesota's second round pick, which they just recently acquired. And they will also send a 2024 sixth rounder and a 2025 fifth rounder to Houston, along with Diggs. Immediate first impressions when you saw the notification, Stefon Diggs to the Texans, what do we think?
I'll be honest, I knew something was coming. A lot of the times when we make these predictions, these predictions aren't what I think, what I want to happen. It's what I think is going to happen based off of what I'm paying attention to. I'm big into the gambling world. I'm big into the betting world. And all of a sudden, these lines started shifting on the Texans trading for T. Higgins. There was a lot of lines that were shifting and prop bets that were popping up, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. The Texans are in talks with the Bengals about T. Higgins. So I dabbled a little bit of money on the T. Higgins thing. I've been all over the betting lines this week because there's an event coming up this weekend that I won't mention on air because you guys will make fun of me for being a wrestling nerd that I've dabbled on, WrestleMania. And I thought it was going to be T. Higgins. So when the notification went off and I saw that it was Stefon Diggs, I was like, oh, wow. It must have fallen apart with Cincinnati. They shifted. I feel like the Texans are the AFC version of the Los Angeles Rams right now. They're going to be involved in every single conversation. They're going to be involved in every little thing they can do to make their team better. And I mean, frankly, it's just very exciting. The moves that the Bears have made, the moves that the Texans have made. Let's go with the parity in the NFL, out with the old. Please, somebody take the Chiefs down out there. And I'm rooting for the Texans to establish themselves as the new terror in the AFC. So let's go, baby.
Yeah. Apparently there's going to be a Texas team that's going to go, be more successful than the Cowboys, unfortunately. Not apparently. That was probably going to happen regardless. I think this is great, right? This is something that everybody talks about. When you have a quarterback for cheap, right, which is usually a quarterback on a rookie deal, it's happened with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Surround these quarterbacks with as much talent as possible, because all of a sudden, when the Texans surprise everybody and they're in the playoffs and CJ Stroud is really, really, really good, you go, oh, yeah, our window's now, not next year, not the year after. It's now. This is our window. We need to surround them with everybody we can, build this team, and we need to go for a Super Bowl today. So I'm wondering if this is too steep of a price, though, because we look at some of the recent trades for wide receivers, and a second round pick feels a little steep for a guy who's going to be 31. And I believe it's May, June. Before the season starts, he's going to be 31 years old, I believe. Is a second round pick too much for Stefon Diggs? I know he's a really good receiver, but is it too much? I know some people are asking this question.
I don't know if it's too much. It's kind of glaring in the light of what L'Jarius Sneed just went for recently. Obviously, you got to trade for him and give him a contract. That's always the caveat when it comes to draft compensation. But I just think you're seeing in the last couple of years, these NFL teams, they're starting to devalue the worth of their picks when it comes to getting known assets. Obviously, famously, that's why I brought them up earlier. The Rams started to do this with Jalen Ramsey, Matt Stafford, bringing in these guys that they could. Obviously, they won a Super Bowl off of it. And frankly, instead of just the Texans saying, hey, we arrived a little early, this is awesome, let's just kind of roll on from here, they're like, nope, just like you said, it's time, let's go. Rookie contract quarterback, he's balling out, let's surround him with everything he can. What's the second round? Is there any player in the second round next of the draft that's going to have the impact that Stefon Diggs is going to have? Maybe. But you know what? Stefon Diggs is going to have an impact. Assuming healthy, let's not do the whole, he might get hurt, he might do this, he might do that. Fine, whatever. Anything could happen. We all might die tomorrow. But Stefon Diggs, the impact on that team when they're already loaded up with a lot of talent, I love it for them. Just the rich keep getting richer, and the Texans have a massive eyeballs on them right now and what they're going to do next year.
Yeah, so initially I was sitting on the side of no, it's really not too steep of a price because they have him locked up for contract for a couple more years. Not only is it okay, cool, we get him now, but we also get him a couple more years down the line of not having to drum up a contract for this guy where he's playing on it. But then I get the notification across my phone not that long ago that they're giving him an out after this year where he could potentially be a free agent. So that one kind of leaves me head scratching a little bit when you already have him locked up. So I got to look deeper into what the out actually is, if it's a team option or a player option, because I know before it was more of a team. The team controls them; they can let him go and cut him for relatively cheap after next year. We're gonna have to see what happens with that. I don't think it's too steep of a price. We saw AJ Brown go for a first round pick. He was obviously a lot younger, but a second round pick for Diggs. It's the age old question: do you trade for a guy who is an aging wide receiver, or do you draft a guy like maybe a Brian Thomas Jr. or somebody in the second round like a Lad or a Troy Franklin, something like that, and go with that? So that's kind of the question. Diggs trade pretty damn good for the Texans, and I'm excited to watch them as this plays out.
What about the flip side though? Like, who's Josh Allen throwing the ball to now? They got Khalil, and that's cool.
Yep.
But unless you're going to draft,
Curtis Samuel. I mean, that's
you're
it.
drafting, A.D. Mitchell right there. Maybe Brian Thomas has been mocked to them a lot. We'll see where it shakes out here on the mock draft. But
Yeah.
oh boy, um, I I don't quite understand the direction they're going. Maybe they've just decided that him is a distraction and everything. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
But this is a team that when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, and I know he makes a lot of money, you cannot have a down year. You can't just, this is why everybody's criticized the Chargers the last couple of years, because it's like Herbert's in his prime, surround him with talent, let's go. Josh Allen is in his prime. I know he's controversial in terms of his turnovers and everything like that, but every year when you look up, he's in the playoffs.
Yep.
I'm just, they've taken a big step backwards in just overall talent on this team. And I just wonder kind of what Bills fans are thinking about the direction of the franchise going into next season.
Yeah, honestly, if you look at some of the top quarterbacks in the league, you look at the wide receiver talent that's being surrounded with them, and it's very lackluster for these top guys, right? Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, right? These guys don't have the best wide receiver groups. It's almost like the wide receiver position is getting devalued a little bit, not because of the talent. It's because of the talent that's coming in. It's constant. I mean, how many times have we seen the past 4 or 5 years? It's like, this is one of the best wide receiver classes. This is one of the best wide receiver classes. This is one of the best wide receiver classes every single year. We're seeing it this year. How many wide receivers? I mean, I scouted like 22 wide receivers this year in the top 100 because there's just that many that are that good. It's just, it's supply and demand. And it feels like the amount of really good wide receivers coming in are devaluing a little bit some of the other guys across the league, and it's somehow we're getting bad wide receiver groups in an age of these really good wide receivers. So it's a little strange to me. The Josh Allen cycle has been kind of strange, right? It's like year one, oh, this is a really bad pick. He looked horrible. And then all of a sudden, years 2, 3, 4, 5, now we're looking at Patrick Mahomes ending his season. Those like 3 out of the 4 years that they're in the playoffs, right? Ending them. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't exist right now, are we looking at Josh Allen as a 2-time Super Bowl winner? I mean, is that the difference? Are we looking, or, on the flip side, the NFC side, are we looking at the Niners as a 2-time Super Bowl winner? So, I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes is the Darth Vader of the NFL, and he's just ending guys, right? He's like MJ, the reason why some of these guys like John Stockton and Karl Malone don't have any NBA rings. He's that flip side version of today. So I think some of the wide receiver group stuff is interesting. I think the Josh Allen conversation, now that we're in a new cycle of Josh Allen of, we've maxed out all of our credit cards. Now we're having to get rid of everything and close the cards and pay them off. we're in a new cycle. I think we might see a little bit more of a down year with the Bills, but you could also say that of the Dolphins too, and the Patriots still aren't good. So who's gonna come out and win that division is the real question.
Yeah, I mean, the certain NFL franchises have shown the ability to navigate the cap just by the money that the owners are willing to spend, and it just seems like the Bills are no longer willing to play in that arena, at least for this season. The NFL keeps making more and more money every year. The revenue sharing is higher than it's ever been, and so maybe the
Mm-hmm.
Bills, who have been on the upper limit of spending the past couple of years, just need to maybe they just need a year to kind of reset the books a little bit. But as a fan, when you've gone into the playoffs every year, when you've competed against Mahomes and Lamar Jackson every single year, and you're in the thick of it every single year, I just got to imagine it's kind of tough to see what's going on over there.
Absolutely, I agree.